Hello, Boreham Wood and Elstree. I hope you've had a nice summer and you're ready to get back into September. Now, I'm sure it's not just me. You know that feeling at the end of the summer? It's a bit bittersweet. You're still enjoying the summertime, but you're already getting a little bit depressed that it's like a new term and new year, and it's going to be September and the weather's going to get bad again. And the one redeeming feature I always find is that you get to go shopping for stationery, right? It's like you never grow out of being in school. So yesterday at work, one of my colleagues who's guessing in his 60s came over looking quite somber and said, "So it's the new term, how's it all going?" And I said to him, "Have you bought a new pen?" Suddenly his whole face lit up. He's like, "Yes, I have." And he went running over to his desk and came back a couple of minutes later to show me his new stationery. So it's one of those things you never get too old to do. And before my kids went back to school, I took them to Brent Cross. And it always feels quite nostalgic. My younger kids don't know really that we used to only go to shops. My older kids still remember the days before online shopping, and they said that they wanted to go to WH Smith to do their stationery shopping, even though they know that they can do it on Amazon, because it's just, that's part of the going back to school routine. So we went around WH Smith and we were getting our highlighters and rulers and new pencil cases. And it all felt very nostalgic, like exactly the same as when I used to go back to school. It reminded me of my childhood. And, you kind of lose track of time. I could have been 5, I could have been 15. It all feels exactly the same. And then I walked out of the shop and I got the shock of my life because I hadn't been shopping in WH Smith. I'd been shopping in TG Jones. Who knew that it changed its name to TG Jones? What were they thinking? Anyway, whilst it was reeling from the shock, it struck me that we have a similar experience when we get to Rosh Hashanah each year. You get out your old honey cake recipe and it's got your oil stains from previous years, and you get to shul on Rosh Hashanah and it's the same tunes and you hear the shofar. And again, like, you could be 10 years old, you could be 20 years old, you could be 65 years old, and it just feels the same. And really the only thing that's changed is the name of the year, right? And sometimes you need to create that awareness for yourself, because otherwise it might just pass you by and you kind of lose track of time, and it's Rosh Hashanah again. It feels the same as last year and the year before. But it's not the shop name that's changed. It's really what's changed is you, right? It's your name, not your name. Maybe your identity, the things that have happened to you in the previous year. If you think back to 2024, standing in shul on Rosh Hashanah, maybe over the course of that year, you didn't know that at that point, but you were going to meet your future wife, or you were going to have a new grandchild, or you were going to lose your job and then get a new job that you didn't know would be even better. All these things were going to happen to you last year that as you stood in shul that year, you didn't know. If you think back to 2023, we all stood in shul on Rosh Hashanah and we had no idea what that year was going to bring, all the tragedies that would unfold. So as we prepare ourselves to the lead up to New Year this year, 2025, we have the opportunity really not just to use our hindsight to think back over our last year, but it's actually a really good opportunity to use our foresight. Think ahead now. Imagine you're standing in shul not in 2025, but Rosh Hashanah 2026. What would you want to look back at over this coming year? Right? But by then it would be in the past, it will be the past year. And think to yourself, what would I want to have achieved? Yeah, when you're standing in shul in 2026, what would you want to look back at and think, that is what happened to me in this last year? The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah tells us, tafasta merubah lo tafasta. When you try to grab too much, when you try to do too much, you end up with nothing. And actually trying to achieve little things means that you end up with something. So think small, right? Think manageable, realistic goals. right? Over the next year, what are the things that are always at the top of your to-do list, but they never actually get done and they just go on to the next to-do list? And think, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, where can I make time for those things, those important things that are really the things that I want to focus on? We all lose track of them because we're all busy with doing the things that we have to do, right? No one else is going to do your shopping or your errands or visit your parents or look after your children, whatever it is that you've got going on in your life, all the things, or go to work, do your job, right? All the things, really important things, pay the bills, the things you have to get done. You can't not do them, but you need to kind of squeeze them a bit smaller and allow those gaps to be filled with the things that you really want to be focusing on and spending your time on. We've all got those things. We just need to sit down and use this time in the lead up to Rosh Hashanah to think, what can we actually realistically achieve in the next year that will make us feel really proud of ourselves when we get to 2026 Rosh Hashanah and look back to this year's Rosh Hashanah and think, I remember I planned that and I did it, I achieved it, I set my goals and I managed to accomplish those things that I set out to do. So good luck with your planning and wishing you all a Shana Tova.